On this computer.
I
Boom.
got it. Everybody's got it that you're being recorded. Okay, so hi, welcome. What day is this? January 27th, I think,
hmm
6th, 7th. January 27th, 2024. We are 3D printing, learning about 3D design, specifically Dungeons and Dragons champions, characters. So with us today, this is excuse me, I guess this is brought to you by the PA Smart Grad. Thank you for participating. Okay, cool. Got that. What's happening is you have two people that are going to be here. It's Micah and Ryan. Micah is going to at first kind of go over like what a champion is, like what your character sets are. She's gonna show you some stuff on your iPads. There'll be a website he's going to take you to, and you can feel free to kind of follow and plot and that type of thing. But again, he's talking about the game for Dungeons and Dragons, because when you design your champion or your character, it is you. It represents you. And your backstory is important. And so when you're thinking about what you want to be, if you could be anything, this is what Mike is going to talk about. And then finally, after that, Ryan's going to take the reins, and you're going to jump in an app called Tinkercad, and you're going to try to build said representation of your thing. And at the end of the day, you will have something called an STL file saved, which your librarian can then print. Do not be in a rush to get it printed. They take a while to print. So this is like one of those things to be like, I gave it to you today. I'll be back in a couple days. It should be done. That type of thing. Does that make sense to you? Everybody cool with that? I'm imagining a bunch of thumbs up from some kids. So that's all right. So we're good. Okay. So without further ado, I give you Micah Funk, everybody, resident D&D champion of the world. And I'll be sitting here in the chat. If you need anything, just unmute yourself and ask the question. Just kind of classic. Unmute yourself, ask the question. Today's very, very, very straightforward. You're not learning coding. You're playing on a website. It's very straightforward. Okay. And I'll stop talking. Are we good? All right, sweet. Micah, you are up, buddy boy.
Okay. So everyone can see my screen now, right? Looks like you can. Hold on, let me get this up. There we go. Okay. So what I wanted to start doing today is for anyone who doesn't know what direction they want to go in for creating their little miniature character today. I wanted to go through the beginning steps of character creation on D&D Beyond. So on your iPads, if you're not already there, just go to D&D Beyond. And in the tools tab, there should be the character creation. And then we're going to get started with the standard step-by-step character creation, because it explains things probably a little bit better than what I can. So yeah, I mean that's basically what we're going to start with. If you need help like with the beginning stuff, there's a beginning like little check mark here that you can click on, and it'll like help guide you through it a little bit better than what the standard set is. But we're just gonna head and click start building here, and it'll immediately pull up everything that you want to include in your character creation. What you say? Just allow time. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So we're gonna leave all of this the same because we don't want to mess with any of the content that they're including. And you don't have to, if you have a name picked out that you want to name him, that's perfectly fine. I don't know what I want to name my guy yet, so we're just gonna leave that blank. Yeah, we're gonna leave all of this the same, campaign only, and then we're just gonna click next. And then here's the actual the races that you can pick from in the game. So I'm gonna walk through basically all of these real quick, and then you guys can pick specifically which ones that you want to do. So we have eagle people here. I don't even know how to pronounce this one. I'm gonna be real. It's like Arakakra, something like that.
Aarakocra.
Aarakocra. There you go. See, someone knows.
One of my players plays it in our campaign.
Yeah, they're essentially just like eagle people, which is pretty cool. And then all of the traits, there's specific background and traits behind every single one of the races in the game that give you certain bonuses. We won't worry about that right now because again, we're not actually playing Dungeons and Dragons today. We're just getting the basis of your character created. And then there's different age backstories and alignments. It really goes into the like actual full description of what like height and everything your I guess race and class of character will look like. So yeah, there's the Aarakocra. And then you have Dragonborns, which are essentially half dragon people. They're like half human, half dragons. They're pretty cool. There's different colors of dragons as well. So you have anywhere from black to green to white. And they all have different types of like elements that they shoot out of their mouth, which is pretty cool. And then dwarfs, you have standard mountain dwarves like the in the Hobbit. If any of you watched that, the all the dwarfs that live in the mountains, that's kind of what they are. And then hill dwarfs, which I believe are a little bit taller. I'm not sure. I actually haven't seen anyone play as a hill dwarf before. But yeah, you have your hill dwarfs and mountain dwarfs, and then you have high elves, wood elves, Eladrin elves, and then I believe this is pronounced Genasi. I'm not sure if anyone could help me with that pronunciation. I'm not entirely sure. But there's different elements for them as well. So air, earth, fire, water. And then obviously gnomes, there's rock gnomes and deep gnomes. And then Goliaths. Goliaths are my favorite guys to play as in the game, just because they're just giant, like brooding barbarian kind of people. So there's Goliaths. Oh, try not to click on him. And then there's half elves, which are just half human, half elf. It's pretty standard. Half orcs, half human, half orcs. Halflings, which are like the hobbits of the D&D universe. There's Lightfoots and Stouts. And then there's humans and variant humans, and then tieflings, which are I don't even know how to like explain what they are. They're like they kind of look like demons, but like not, but they're like magical. It's kind of weird to describe how they are. And then there is oh, I don't even know how to pronounce this. A Simar, a Simar. I actually haven't seen these guys before either. But yeah, so there's all the races. So I'll give you guys a quick second to pick specifically which one you want to play as or create today, I suppose. The easiest I think to design would be the humans and the elves. I think those are just pretty standard um builds to do. There's nothing like too complex, like there's no wings or like special kind of like horns or anything you need to add onto them. Okay. So if everyone's good, um just let me know and I'll move on to the classes I believe are next.
We are not
Yeah,
good.
it's all right. It's all right. I'll give you guys a little bit.
We're having technology issues with our Wi-Fi and everything. So we have no idea what's going on. So
Okay.
but I'm trying to join from a different computer to see if it will work. So if you give me 2 seconds, I might be able to figure it out.
Yeah, you're good. I'll give it till I'll give you guys a little bit more time.
Thank you.
Hmm. I actually don't know which character I want to click on to customize. I might do Goliath, um, but I'm also thinking just doing an elf just for simplicity's sake of creating a character. Mm. Hmm? Mhm. Mm. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the classes. Again, um, if you want, you guys can all work at your own speed with this. D&D Beyond does really good with step by step walking through how to create the character. So if you're having trouble, um, if you're having Wi-Fi problems or anything like that, you can always go back and save your characters, and then log in at a later date and go through and edit whatever you guys want. So for now, just for time's sake, I think I'm gonna go with the Goliath. I really like playing as Goliath, so I'm gonna show you um the rest of the steps as a Goliath myself. And when you choose your race, it goes through and reads basically just all the abilities you get being born as that specific race of character. Um, I have different, athletic skills. I have cold resistance. Basically, I'm just like Hulk. Basically, is the best way to describe him. He's just super strong, resistant to cold. So I'm going with the Goliath. So I'm going to click next. And now this is where you're going to choose your class. So you guys can go through and read all of these yourselves. I'll give you guys another 5 or 6 minutes to go through and read them all to decide what class you want to be. I am gonna go through and read the barbarian real quick because I think that's what I'm gonna pick for my character. So it goes through your strength ability, the type of die you'll need to roll for your attacks, and then basically just your first level abilities. So I'll have like rage, unarmored defense, a reckless attack. And then, this is going up in the second level. Danger sense, primal path. So basically, we'll go through your skill tree as you level up. These are the abilities that you'll see yourself unlock when you go through the game. So I'm just trying to see if there's more of a backstory here. Oh, and then there's some extra proficiencies as well that you have. So yeah, I think I'm gonna use Barbarian, but I'll give you guys another 5 minutes to go through and choose which class you guys want. And then it also should show the gear that you get along with picking that character.
Micah.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, sorry. I was just testing to see
Sorry.
if this is working, and it's still not working. So 1 second.
Okay. Is everyone else good though for picking a class? I believe I'm gonna pick Barbarian here myself, just because I like using battle axes. So I'm gonna add that class. And then I believe I don't have to assign anything here. Oh, I do here. So it'll ask for there's different proficiencies. You'll go through and just pick one real quick. You can always go back and change them and edit them up if you wish. I'm just gonna pick probably just animal handling and survival. Those don't matter too much
God.
currently.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Micah.
It's all right.
We're finally okay. Boys, first, can you tell us where you are? We're so far behind. We don't even know what you're in. Are you
We're
in Tinkercad?
We are on D&D Beyond right now, going through and creating a character.
Okay.
Alright, dude.
You already did on DD and Beyond?
Yeah, but I'll make a different one.
Okay, so can you guys, so go to Google
www.gameplaybeyond.
and go to D&D and Beyond. And you're gonna start making a character, and then in the Tinkercad, we're gonna make them into a 3D person, okay? All right, thanks, Micah, sorry.
Yep, it's all right. Okay, so I have my proficiencies assigned. I know I'm going to be a barbarian, Goliath. So when that's selected, we're just going to click next. And then here are the ability scores or stats. We're going to go through and click on manual rolled here. And we're gonna literally just roll for the stats. They have a digital roller, so I'll just click roll here at the bottom, and then we will assign them to each basically group of skill tree here for the character. I'm just gonna do this real fast so we can get through with the rest of actually creating the character. You guys can apply your scores however you want. But I think it's the most fun to roll in my opinion. So I have 16, 12, 13, 13, a 10, and a 16. Okay, so all in all, that's not too bad for my character. So I'm going to, at this drop down, select every single one that I want to apply. So for 16, I think I want strength, and 16, I think I also want my dexterity. And then 13, I want probably constitution and intelligence. And then 12, I want wisdom, and 10, I want charisma. So the strength is basically the way you carry items in the game or push and pull items. So if there's like a big barrel that you need to push out of the way, you'll rely on your strength ability score for that. Wisdom is essentially just like the surrounding area, just like your situational awareness to that. Constitution, I believe, is for things like foresight, and like dark vision, I believe. Intelligence is different speech abilities and how you can solve like riddles and puzzles in the situation. Charisma is just your speech ability, so like how you can persuade different characters, or make someone fall in love with you. I mean, it's Riz, it's charisma. I think you all know that. And then dexterity is your agility, so like jumping from ledge to ledge, maybe sprinting really fast for a short amount of time. But yeah, so I have all of my scores assigned. So I'm just going to click apply ability scores here, and then I applied it down at the bottom of the skill tree here. So I have pretty good modifiers for all of those. And when that's applied, I'm just going to click next. So now I'm back at the character name and then the actual details and background. So this is basically the last main part that you'll need for switching off into Ryan's section of creating a character. So for a character name, what do I want to call him? I think I'm gonna call him Enzo. And then I need a last name, I suppose. I'm gonna use one of these last names that are up here.
There are also, you tell them that there are generators, name generators, right?
Yeah, well, there's name generators in the thing.
Who gives the light bringer?
I think Enzo, and then I like this last name here. So I'm gonna switch Akon for just Enzo. There we go. And then there's my name, and then background. I'm just gonna do a pretty normal background. I'm just gonna be a soldier. and then probably history, and then that says sure. Military ranks. There's different characteristics that you can add, but we won't worry about that right now. Character details we're going to ignore for now because that's not what we need. We need physical characteristics. So this is where like this is purely your imagination. You can use the base like art design that they have to describe the way you want your character to look. Or you can just completely go off on your own and make it look however you want. I'm going to do basically just the basic character. So I'm going to do no hair. I suppose it's just bald. Skin color is a light kind of gray. My eyes, oh, what did his eyes look like? They kind of just like pure white. He doesn't look like he has pupils. We'll do pure white, maybe with just plain black pupils. Height. We'll go through, I believe that they are fairly tall. Size 7 and 8 feet tall. I like being tall, so I'm gonna do just 8 feet high. High. And then age, lifespan's comparable to humans in the late teens. Okay, so I'm gonna make my guy in age years. I'm gonna make him the same age as me, so he's just gonna be 21. My weight, I believe they go a little bit heavier. Doesn't really show the weight of him. So I'm gonna make him pretty strong. So his weight is just gonna be we'll do 250. Or I guess if he's 8 feet tall, he's need to be heavier. So we'll do 300. And then gender, I'm gonna do male. All right. So now I have my physical characteristics for my character. So I'm kind of envisioning the way he's gonna look. I mean, I'm really basing this off of the art that they used for this page here. So that's really what I'm using to base my character off of. But I have my physical characteristics, and then they have personal characteristics. So there's different traits, ideals, flaws that you can add into the background, and then other notes if you like really want to dive into the background of your character. And again, you can go through after Ryan has walked through the character creation and really like flesh out your character if you wish to play as this guy at a later date. But for now, I have all the physical characteristics, so I'm just going to go ahead and click next. And this is equipment, so we're just going to click next. And then if you go to view character to sheet, I believe it should just display a virtual character sheet. And then you can also go back and download it as a PDF. And then you can print that sheet out that you just saw. You can print it out as a piece of paper as well. But yeah, so that is D&D Beyond. It's a really great tool for starting to create your character. I believe I need to save him. How do I save? I think he's already saved. Yeah, he's already saved. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off to Ryan here at Tinkercad. And yeah, we'll design our 3D character now.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Micah. I'll give you guys like another minute or so to finish up on anything that you still have with characters. As far as the 3D printing part goes, the only thing that will be helpful, the only thing that I think would be really helpful for the students to have finished or at least have thought of is like their character name and any of those physical characteristics, like how tall are they, skin, eyes, any of those kinds of things would be super helpful. So I'll give you guys just like a minute or two to finish up any of those details before we jump into Tinkercad. And Micah, I have an iPad set up here that I'm going to try to share my screen from. So I'm not sure if it'll give you like a screen share request or something like that, but if it is, that's what it's for.
I got you. Yeah, I think it pops up as like this person wants to share their screen. I just allow it.
All right, awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and jump over into Tinkercad. If this is the first time you've opened Tinkercad, your screen's going to look a little bit different, but not a lot different. If you've opened Tinkercad before, this is pretty much what your screen is going to look like. Yep, absolutely. I can give you guys 2 more minutes. Tinkercad is an app. It is a website as well, but it's going to be easier to use as an app. Micah, do you want to field the question about switching back to export as a PDF? Yes, I have a class code that I'm going to give everybody once we get started on Tinker. You used to be able to just go in and use it without being connected to a class. I did not realize that that had changed, and now you have to have a class before you can go on it. So I created a generic class. So I'll make sure everybody has the class code and show everybody how to get logged in. All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump into Tinkercad here. So if this is the first time that you're opening the app, in the bottom right corner, you should see a button that says Start Tinkering. And if you tap that button, it'll take you to the same screen that you see here. If you've opened Tinkercad before and hit that Stop or Start Tinkering button, your screen will look like my screen looks here. So give everybody just a second to get on this screen. All right, so Tinkercad, you used to be able to use this without making an account. If students want to create a personal account, they can create a personal account. It'll just allow them to access it at home. They can use a Google email address or another email address to create a personal account. If this is something you're keeping at the libraries, you might want to think about just creating like a generic class for the libraries, which is what I did for us today. So go ahead and tap where it says Students Join a Class, the green button. And then it's going to ask you to enter a class code. And the class code for the class we're using today is RLN JBE JUU. Okay, and I'm going to type that in the chat too in case anybody needs it. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Micah. And then tap Go to My Class. And then it's going to ask if you want to join with a nickname or join with a username or email. So again, just because keeping this generic today because we have so many people on, I just did join with a nickname. And again, this is something you could do if you set up a Tinkercad class for the library, is just keeping it something super generic like that. So we're going to go ahead and type join with nickname. And the nickname is just going to be the word student in all lowercase letters. And I put that in the chat as well. Okay, so then go ahead and hit That's Me. And that's where it'll log you into the main Tinkercad page. There are a lot of different things in here that you can do once you start to explore Tinkercad more. So again, if you're teaching for the library side, there are pre-made lessons and challenges and things in here that students can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this blue button that says Create. And that's going to drop down this little bar and we'll hit 3D Design. Rate limit exceeded. Okay, sorry, I didn't like, apparently there's a limit on how many you can do at one time. Okay, did not know that. Okay, let's do this. Do all of the libraries have a Gmail account or a Google account or something they could create an account with quickly? Okay, perfect. So go ahead and tap the. Yeah, everybody's getting the error message. I think it's because there's so many students trying to log. Yeah, there's too many students trying to log in with that same account. I did not realize that you couldn't do that. Or that you could have this many. So what we're going to do is we're going to all log out. So if you push the person icon in the top right corner and just click log out. You're just going to tap create a personal account. And then you can sign up with an email or sign in with Google quickly. And this will be whatever your library email is. It will not be the same for everybody. So I'm going to stop broadcasting to give everybody just a minute to log in. thank you all for hanging in there, working with me through that. This is the biggest group I've done this with, so I did not know that there was a limit on how many student accounts you could use, how many accounts students you could have logged into one account at one time. So I apologize for that. Looking like most people are good to go. So I'm going to share my screen and give another minute or two for everybody to get logged in. All right, once you're in, you're going to go ahead and just hit that blue create button in 3D design again, and it'll bring up an empty workspace for you.
Ryan,
Yes.
created an account in Tinkercad so we can have a library account, and I'm trying to give the students the code, but when they put in their nickname, it says it doesn't identify it. Do I have to put them in as students, or can
Yes,
they
in your-
just link in?
Yeah, in your class, you'll have to add each student as a student.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And if you are creating a class for the library and you're adding the students as students, I always just use when they log in with nickname, I always just use their first name in all lowercase. If I have two students that have the same name, like if I have two Ryans, I would do like Ryan K, Ryan L, Ryan M, just to make the nickname easy for them to remember so that they can log in easily on their own. All right, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start with some Tinkercad basics on how to use the different tools and shapes and things on the side to start building. You don't necessarily have to make a class to do this. If they can log in, or you can log in just with a Google account, you don't have to put them into a class. You can just hit login with a personal account. But a class is something you might want to think about creating and setting up for the library. But for this today, they can just log in with a personal account, and you can just use the library Gmail for today. All right, so over here on the side, you'll see there's a lot of different shapes that you can choose from. There are more shapes in this, but we're going to start out with just the basic shapes for right now. So I'm going to show you just the basic controls that you're going to need to do to build. So I'm just going to choose this orange cylinder. When I want to place a shape, I'm going to tap on the shape that I want, and then I'm going to tap on the screen on the blue plane. And what that's going to do is that's going to place the shape for me on the plane. So if I want to zoom in and zoom out to be able to make some changes, I'm just going to use my fingers to zoom in and zoom out. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the shape that I just placed. And you'll see that there's a lot of different little squares and triangles. So the gray squares that you see, the ones that are turning red as I'm tapping them, okay, those will expand or shrink the shape that I just placed. Okay, so go ahead and practice just dragging that, stretching it out, making it smaller, just playing around with how to size it. The black squares that you see do something similar, but that's only going to focus on the one side that you're pulling. Okay, where the other one kind of sizes both directions, this will only size your shape in one direction. Okay, so go ahead and play with those for just a second. So black is going to stretch in just one direction. The gray is going to stretch to keep everything scaled the same because it's going to pull in two directions at once. Okay, you'll also see a little red arrow down here that has two arrowheads on both sides. And this is what you're going to use if you want to spin the shape. Okay, so when you tap on that, hold, and that'll let you spin the shape. Okay, for a cylinder, it doesn't make a big difference, but if I was using like a square or a rectangle, I might want to turn it so that I could get it more of a diagonal shape. And the last control you see is just this little cone that sits up on top of the shape. And oops, sorry. Sorry about that. My iPad froze for some reason. Sorry about that. Not sure where my iPad is. Okay. Let me try and share my screen. All right, I'm gonna retry to share my screen here. Not sure why that keeps me off. Okay. All right, so the small triangle at the top that you see, or the small cone that you see, is going to allow you to raise and lower the shape by lifting it up into the air or lowering it back down. Okay, and what that's helpful for is as I'm building different things, if I want to move something up to put something in somebody's hand or put something on the character's head, that will allow me to move those shapes and pieces where I want them to be. All right, so once I have a shape, if I have a shape that I do not want anymore, all I need to do is tap on that shape and push the trash can button, and that's going to delete that shape. Okay, to get it out of the way. I do not want it anymore. All right, awesome. So we're going to be building our Dungeons and Dragons characters. So I'm going to show you how to build and put pieces of characters together. So I have a common character here. If you guys can see my screen, there's a character here. This is Pac-Man. You might recognize him from Smash Brothers. The reason I chose Pac-Man was because he has some very basic shapes for us to quickly be able to build this character. So when I look at this Pac-Man character, there's some parts of him that stand out. Okay, his shoes, his legs, his body, his arms, and his gloves. Okay, those are the four or five main parts of Pac-Man. So I'm going to start at the bottom because we want to always build our character from the bottom up. So I'm going to focus right on Pac-Man's shoes. Okay. So if I look at those shoes, I know what I'm going to start with, but then I need to think about the shapes that make up Pac-Man's shoes. Okay, so if I'm looking at my basic shapes over here, if I'm looking at the bottom of his shoes, I would say, well, they kind of look like, it kind of looks like this shape right here. The paraboloid, if I turned it sideways, could also say maybe it looks like this round roof. So I think the round roof is going to be a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to start with the round roof. So I'm going to go ahead and place a round roof that I want to use for Pac-Man's shoes. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here so I can work with this shape a little bit more. All right, so if I think about the shape of his shoes, I want to shrink this down a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. All right, so that's kind of this round part of his shoe, but then I need the round part on the front. So if I'm looking at my other shapes here, which other shape is going to be round like the front of Pac-Man's shoes? Well, kind of this half sphere would be great. So I'm going to shrink this down. But I need to rotate this because I need to kind of stick it on the front of this other shape that I had. So if I tap on my half sphere, I can see that I have the arrow that has the two round parts, that has the two arrowheads, and I can use that to tip this over. So now I have that part standing up, and I can slide it back to get on the front of the shoe. Okay, so building in Tinkercad is a lot of figuring out how to put shapes together to accomplish what you want. Okay, and make sure we're looking always at different angles so that we always get the shapes pushed together. Okay, not quite perfect, but I can keep playing around with that and get it pretty close to what I want it to look like. All right. So that works pretty well for the front of his shoe for right now. So once I have two shapes together like that, that I want to keep together, if I double tap on my screen, it'll let me start to draw this box. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that I have both of those shapes inside that box. And then there's a really important button right next to that light bulb where it looks like two shapes are kind of squished together. And that button is merge. So what that does is it takes those two shapes and it merges them together into one shape. So that way they're stuck together. So now when I move them, they stick together. Okay, and I can use that to then make a copy next to the trash can. So that way, now I have two shoes. I don't have to make the shoes again. Okay, so I have two shoes for Pac-Man. All right, awesome. So then I'm going to move up to Pac-Man's legs. So I'm going to grab spheres to use for Pac-Man's legs. So I'm going to make these nice and skinny. All right, so one important part of using 3D design is we want to make everything kind of squished together. So that way we don't have a bunch of, yes, so we'll actually merge when we put his legs together. So you'll double tap and put everything inside of this red box. And then the merge button is the one where it looks like there's two shapes stuck together next to the light bulb. And then that will keep those shapes together. All right, so I want to put Pac-Man's leg inside of his shoe. I don't just want it sitting back behind, because from the front, it might look like his leg is in his shoe. But if I go to print this, his leg is not going to be inside of his shoe. So the cool part with Tinkercad is I can actually put these shapes inside of each other. And it's really easy to do. I'm just going to tap on his leg and I'm going to drag the shape right inside of his shoe because I want his leg and his foot going right inside of that shoe. So I can drag it right inside of that shoe. Okay, and I want one for each of his shoes. Okay, so once I have his leg inside of his shoes, I'm going to double tap. And I'm going to merge again for each of those. So that way I have two shoes and two legs inside of those shoes. I'll give everybody a second to get caught up there. So if you're having trouble with the iPad's freezing, if you double tap that home button and swipe out of Tinkercad, if you go back in, it auto saves progress along the way. So you're not going to lose it if you have to double tap, swipe out and go back in. You might be back one step. It depends on when it last did its auto save, but most of their project will still be there. All right, so next part of Pac-Man is to work on the body. So I'm going to go ahead and tap this sphere because Pac-Man's body is a big circle. So I'm going to make a big sphere here for Pac-Man's body. So if I make this sphere for Pac-Man's body, oops. All right, this would be a perfect chance to show what happens when the iPad freezes because it looks like mine did the same thing again. So I'm going to swipe out of Tinkercad, go back in. So if that happens, tapping on designs, and then it would be this last one you created and hit tinker this. Oh, and it did not, wait. Which one of these is mine? Okay. All right, so this one. Who is mine? Where's mine? Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do just to keep us moving. Not sure where mine is. If you have not renamed yours, you may want to rename it to make it easy for you to find. So I would recommend using your first name, first letter of your last name, and then the name of your character. So that'll make it easy for you guys to find if that happens. So I'm not going to go back over the feet and everything for Pac-Man. I'm just going to add 2 cylinders here to use quickly for his legs. So that way we can keep moving here to give you guys time to work on your Dungeons and Dragons character. All right, so if I have his 2 legs, I need to add a body here for Pac-Man. So I'm going to make a big sphere. And I need to place that sphere on top of the leg. If I just drag it over here, it's going to just cover them up. You're not going to be able to see them. So that's where this cone comes in at the top to raise it up to put it on top of those legs. Okay, and then once I have it on top of those legs, I'm going to double tap to make the box so that I can merge. So now I have Pac-Man's body, his legs, and his shoes. I'm just going to throw 2 of these down here for shoes. Awesome. So. All right, so we have Pac-Man and we have shoes and we have legs. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you before you get into working with your Dungeons and Dragons character is how to do cuts. So if I want to make a cut for Pac-Man's mouth, I need to find the shape that I want to use for the cut. So I'm going to use the triangle here. And I'm going to rotate it. Like this. And I'm going to raise it up to where I want Pac-Man's mouth to be. Kind of right there in the middle. And then I'm going to slide it back in. So this is kind of looks weird because it looks like where I want his mouth to be is kind of sticking out of his face, and it looks kind of funny. But what happens is when we do a cut, we have to place that other shape on top where we want it to be. So once I tap on this triangle, you'll see under the light bulb where it says roof. That's the name of the shape that I placed. They're calling that triangle the roof. But you have two options. You have a color option, which you can use when you're building your character to make the shapes whatever color you want them to be. So I could make it blue, red, green, whatever color I want it to be. But if I'm doing a cut, I'm going to tap on the gray one that has the lines through it. Okay, and what that's going to do is it's going to show me, hey, this is where the cut is going to be, and this is what that cut is going to look like. Okay, it still kind of looks funny because we can still see the outline of the shape. But when I use this red box to merge those shapes again, it will actually cut that out. And cut a mouth into Pac-Man. Okay, so let's say I made the cut and I don't like where it is. I don't like the way that it looks. Well, that's where this undo next to the trash can comes in. I can tap undo. That'll unmerge everything. And then I can say, I want to make this a little bit smaller. I don't want it to be quite as big. And now I'm going to try and merge it again. Okay, and then I made his mouth a little bit smaller. Okay, if I want to try it again, I can undo and I can keep playing with that cut until I get it to look like I want it to look. All right, so this is where we're going to stop working on Pac-Man. We do have some other things we could add. We could add his eyes, we could add tongue, we could add his arms, we could add his gloves, different things like that. But this is where we're going to stop on Pac-Man so that you have time to work on your Dungeons and Dragons character. So when we're all finished with your Dungeons and Dragons character around 12:15, what we're going to do is I'll show you how to export that to the STL file and save it. So we are all done with our Pac-Man. So to get a new project started in Tinkercad, there's a bright colored square in the top left corner that says Tinkercad. Go ahead and tap on that square. It will save what you built, but it will take you back out here so that you can build something new. So you're going to click the blue Create button, 3D Design. Okay, go ahead and name your new project. First name, first letter of your last name, and then whatever you're naming your Dungeons and Dragons. All right, so I want you looking at your Dungeons and Dragons character or thinking about your Dungeons and Dragons character that you created. So we're going to start on the bottom. Okay, if you want to create a base for your character, you can create a base for your character. The cylinder works great to create a character base. Just make it nice and big and then shrink it down and make it kind of flat. So that way you have a base that you can sit your character on. Sometimes that's helpful. with building characters is to sit them on a base. If you decide, hey, I want to put the name of my character on the front of the base, there's one called text that you can, if you want to, you can add the text and change the name of that and put the text on there. The other thing that's pretty cool is if you tap this shape that looks like a scribble, it will actually take you to a drawing space. So if you need something specific, so let's say I want to have, can somebody give me like an accessory or something that they might want for on their characters? Are axes on there? Are axes in Dungeons and Dragons? Yes, okay, perfect. So if I want to create an axe for my character, I could go to this drawing space and I could draw. Let's see, create an axe here. Okay, and then I want to color this all in on the inside. So it's solid. And then when I'm done, I can hit done. And then what I just drew is created here. And I can play around with the
Hey,
side.
Ryan,
Yes.
how do you do the cut again?
How do you do the cut? Okay, perfect. So I'll actually show you guys with the axe that I just did. So if you draw something in,
Here,
just
Robert's-
right in here. If I want to do a cut, I just need to choose what shape I want to do the cut in. So I'll just grab a cylinder and put the cylinder, oops, on top here. Shrink it down. All right, so if I want to do a cut, I could bring the cylinder over here and I could shrink it. I could put it down into my other shape. And where it says cylinder, there's two options. One is to choose the color. If I choose the gray with the lines through it, that will actually turn it into a cut. You'll see that it's grayed out on the screen. If I double tap and select everything and merge, that's when I'll see that cut go through. So you can also use cuts to make holes in objects, or you can use cuts to cut into objects as well. All right, so I'm going to give you guys about, I guess we have about 30 minutes to work on building your Dungeons and Dragons character. So when you're building your Dungeons and Dragons character, start with the bottom, look at the feet, or think about what the feet are going to look like on your character. Are they going to be regular feet? Are they going to have shoes? What shapes can you use to make those shoes? Over on the basic shapes, there's a little search feature too. You can search for more detailed shapes. So maybe I want to look for shoes. Oh, if I just type the word shoe, there are some shoes there. So I could choose this shoe that already exists. Okay, that's the sneaker. Okay, I could use that for my character if I wanted to. These are also things that you can change. So if you see this shoe is here, but you want to add something to it, you can grab any of these shapes that are over here on the side. Say I want to add a ball to the top of that sneaker that's there. All I have to do is make my shape. Oops, not sure why that's so flat. And I could put that on the front. Maybe I want to use that as like a shield on the front of my sneaker. And I can merge those two things. And now I have that shape on the front of my sneaker that I could use for my character. So you can take the things that exist in the search feature or in the shapes, and you can add to them. There's some cool things in there. Like if you're trying to add wings to your character, there are wings in there. So some of those things that take a little bit more time to build with shapes, you can use the search feature and use things that are already there. But you will have to do some customizing with the shapes. Okay, so start with the base, start with your shoes, then go to your legs, just like we did with Pac-Man, starting on the bottom and working up. So that's the basics of Tinkercad. If somebody needs specific help with something, I am more than happy to answer any questions, show you how to do anything that you missed. But I'm going to kind of be here to support any questions and stuff you have while you're working through building your Dungeons and Dragons character. Since everybody's character is different, I'm just going to give you guys some work time to work through those things and be here to help out and support and answer any questions that you have. So are you asking to face the opposite direction, or are you talking like right foot, left foot? So both of the sneakers are going to look the same. It's not super detailed as far as like right foot, left foot to use the pre-made ones. sure. So the error message, nodes failed to load and failed grouping shapes. I'm not sure 100%. So what I would do for that is I would tap off and make sure that you don't have anything selected, and then try and drag the box and group again. So more detailed characters. So great question. So any of the things that you're going to want to build for your character. So let's say I want to create some type of like a shirt or a jacket or something that has like buttons and pockets and different things like that on. Each of those different things that you want to have on your character, you're going to actually be responsible for adding on yourself. So you have to think about all those different things that you're going to need. So each of these details, so like coming back to the sneakers, for example, each of these things that you see on the sneakers, so the base of the sneakers would have to be created. And then the white part of the sneaker that sits up on top would be another shape. And then the ring that goes around where the leg goes in, that's another shape. And then each of the things coming across for shoelaces are another one. So each of the details that you're going to want, you're going to have to zoom in and create those details yourself. So if you want a pocket, think about, well, I might want to use a square and then a triangle for the bottom part of the pocket. So I want to put those two things on the jacket or on the shirt, and then I'm going to merge that with the shirt. If I want a button, I'm going to have to create each of those different buttons and add them on. So one by one, just really think about the small pieces and shapes that make up those details that you want on your character. The items on his building plane disappeared, or the items in the like searchable shapes disappeared? On the building pad. Okay. So the undo button up here, if you use that, that should bring back anything that was maybe accidentally deleted. I think I've only had that happen, I think maybe one time, where there were a lot of pieces and it was too much for one of the designs. So as you're continuing to build, so like you can see that I'm doing here with my character, there's small details that I'm working on. So like where I want his arm to bend here, I'm working with this small shape to try and round out like the elbow. So if you get finished or almost finished with your character, go back and see if there's any like small details that you can add to your character, because those are the things that you're really going to find that are cool about your design once you get finished, is those small attention to detail pieces. And you can see like with my character, I could have both arms sticking straight out the side, but I can also use these arrows to kind of tilt his arm a little bit if I want to add a little bit of character and personality to my character that I'm creating. So the search right on the side where you see basic shapes, if you tap the magnifying glass, you'll be able to type in. There are some things in there. The more general you can be, probably the better. So if I wanted to search for something like animals, which would even give me the option to use, like there's a dinosaur foot, or I could use some feet off of animals or something like that. Maybe feather. Feather. Okay, there is a feather in there. So you can search for those different things that you want. It might be there, it might not be there. There may also be something in there that you can use. You can also where it says basic shapes, there's also a drop down where you can look for design starters, creatures and characters, vehicles and machines. So there are some different things in here too. If you just want to see some of the different things that are there as an option, you can drop down and search there too. So magnifying glasses search, or you can use the drop down to choose from some things that are pre-made. So if it freezes, hopefully they have the name in the top left corner. If they did not change it yet, see if it will allow them to change it. But if they need to just kind of refresh Tinkercad, double tap and swipe out of it, reopen Tinkercad, and their projects should still be in there. It may ask them to log in with the class code, but it probably won't because they were just in there. But they should be able to pull theirs back up. The last step or two may not have been completed before the autosave, but most of it should still be there. When they log back in to Tinkercad and hit designs, it should be here. If it's not, you can hit where it says view however many more, and then you can go down through here and look for it if you don't see it right away. How do you make pants? Great question. So I'm guessing you probably have legs on like I do on my character right here. So if I want to make pants for my character, I have to think about first what the pants are going to look like. And then I'm going to create another object. So if I want the pants to be over top of the other one, over top of those legs, I would create a cylinder since that's the same shape that I used for the legs. And they'll be going over top of the legs that are already there, most likely. But let's say I want to have a hole in them or a cut in them. This is where I would use a shape maybe like, well, I could use the cylinder again, actually. So if I brought the cylinder down here, I could make a tiny cylinder, drag that over here, raise it up. And I can take them over here to the pants that I just made. And I could turn it into a cut. Merge this and see if we can see. Oh, so I didn't get quite deep enough to make a cut in there that you can see through there. So that I'm going to undo, go back out and try and make a little deeper cut. And so now I have a cut in the pants where you can see like the leg through. If I want to put a patch on the pants or other design on the pants. So that's where you just put that over top and then you start using these shapes or other things that you search and layer it right on top to make it look like what you want it to look like. Great question. So each of these small squares that you see here are millimeters, and each of the larger squares are centimeters. So where that is important is when you're going to be 3D printing. So I want to be thinking about that when I'm designing. I've had students before who will go into settings and change the size of their building grid and make it like 2000 by 2000, which is great because it gives you a big space to build. But the problem with that is when I go to actually print it, it's not going to print. So the default is 200 by 200, which is a nice printing size. My 3D printers print 150 by 150. So mine will actually print a little bit smaller than this. When you go to print them, the 3D printing software that you use will allow you to scale the object, but I usually keep it at 200 by 200. So that way it keeps it, students get a pretty good idea of what the size their object is actually going to print out as. All right, we'll take about another 2-3 minutes to work on builds here, and then I'll show you how to export to an STL file. So that way you have it saved and it will be ready to print as well. All right, so in the remaining time we have here, I'm going to go through a couple things that you want to do before you finish up your character and your project. So while you were building your Dungeons and Dragons character, I finished building my Pac-Man that we started with. So first thing you want to do, and I know some of you still might be building, and that is okay, but I want everybody just to pause where you are because I want everybody to go through these steps with me. So if you take a look at my building plane, the blue plane that everything is sitting on, you'll see that down here, I still have that axe and I still have that shoe with the shield on that we started with early when we started building. So anything that you have laying on the plane that's extra, okay, you want to make sure that you delete that. You want to get rid of that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete any of these extra things that I have sitting on the plane. And you also might want to zoom out a little bit and make sure there's no objects that are kind of floating around in space. Sometimes when we're building, we move things out of the way and then we forget that they're floating out there. So you want to just make sure you get rid of any extra things that you see. The only thing you want to have is your model that you built. Okay. Once it is all here and that's all that you see, you're going to want to make one last box over everything. And you can see that my merge button is grayed out. And the reason that it is grayed out is because I have everything merged, because when I was building, I put something together, merged it so that it stayed. Put something together, merged it so that it stayed. If your merge button is not grayed out like mine is, you want to make sure that you push that because you need to have everything merged into one shape when you're all finished. Now, what might happen when you push that button is it may change everything to be one color. It made everything one color when you merged it. And you say, oh man, I wanted my model to have all the different colors. I picked this color for this and this color for this. That's okay. I'm going to show you how to get that back. So once you have everything merged, if you hit that shape color button and you push the word multicolor at the bottom, it will put back all of your colors the way that you had them. So if you change the colors while you were building, all of your color will be back to look exactly like you wanted on your model. Okay. The next thing that you want to do is you need to double check and make sure however you're supposed to name your file, you named your file, okay? The library might have a specific way they want you to name it. So I have my name the way that we started today. So you want to make sure that it has your name, last initial, and then what it is. And the reason is because those files are going to get saved either on the iCloud or on the iPad. And when you go to print it, you want to be able to find your file quickly. So I always tell students the first thing they need to do is make sure that they name their file. It just makes everything easy to find. All right, so, 1 second. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do over on the right side, you'll see a button that says export. Go ahead and tap that button that says export. If you're not finished, that's okay. You can still go through these steps with us. Okay, for 3D print, it gives you 4 different file types. The best file type that you can choose because it's very compatible with all 3D printers is STL. That's a very, very common 3D printing file. So when you tap STL, it's going to download that file to the iPad, and it's going to ask you where you want to send it. So then you're going to tap Save to Files. And this step may be different depending on what the library, your specific library would like you to do. But just for today, I want you to find the one that says On My iPad. And then down at the bottom, you'll see where it says your file name again. It should have your name and your Dungeons and Dragons character's name. And in the top right corner, you're just going to push the word save. Okay, so what we just did was we took your 3D file that you created on your own on Tinkercad, and we sent it to an STL file. You cannot print straight from Tinkercad. So that's why we had to do that export step. So when you have the 3D printers, you'll be able to get that file from the iPad and send that straight to the 3D printer to print. Your character, if you want to come back and continue working on it, will be saved in Tinkercad. Okay, so that account that your library created, it'll be saved on there. The account that we used today that had that class code and you typed in your name, I'm not going to close that because I know some of you are using that. You can use that class code and just type in student and it'll bring you right back in and you'll be able to find your character and continue to build on your character if you have some more work that you need to do on your character. Okay, but other than that, you have created your character in Tinkercad. It'll be saved in Tinkercad and the STL file is saved on the iPad. So that way that can be sent over to the 3D printer to print. Does anybody have any questions about any of those last steps or anything about creating their character? I know I was answering some as we go. So Tinkercad is great to learn on. There are more advanced 3D design softwares out there. This one I think is great because it hits a wide range of levels and there's some searchable shapes and things that you can use to add some more detail. But you really have to think about the actual design of your character, the different parts and pieces, and really put those shapes and items together to create your character design. But we have about 5-ish minutes left today if you guys want to continue working on your builds. Oh, something that is important. If I make a change, so let's say, hey, I put a party hat on top of Pac-Man. There we go. Put a party hat up here on top of Pac-Man, and now it's going to look different because I went back and made a change. If I make a change to my character that I want to make sure is on my print, I need to export that file again. STL. Saved files on my iPad. Save. If you are making a change, it'll ask if you want to replace the existing one. Yes, you can replace it because you don't want the old one. You only want the new one, the one that you want to print. So if you are still working on your character and you make any changes, whenever you export it as an STL, you want to make sure that you replace the old one. You don't need to keep the old one.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
One of my students exported her design and then she went back into it to ungroup everything to do some more work, but then she lost it. Like the STL design only has part of her design, but not the entire thing that she exported.
Okay, so you want to make, so when she went back in, did she open the file that she saved or did she go back in Tinkercad?
She went to go, like, she tried to import it back into Tinkercad from the STL file, but it's only part of it. It's not her entire creation. So she
Okay.
like,
So whenever she wants to go back and do more edits, just make sure when you go into Tinkercad, you select the project. You don't need to import the file back. It'll be saved on the Tinkercad account.
we tried that, but her entire thing, except for one part of it's gone now. I don't know what happened. Like she exported the entire thing she'd built, and then she was back in Tinkercad to try and work on it, and she accidentally deleted it. So we tried to get it back, but an older copy of it doesn't exist anymore. Is there any way to pull that up? If you want to go, you're good to go. Or if you want to stay for a few more minutes, you can, Dyson. Okay.
Just to chill.
That's fine.
And so I do not know when I want to get my ebook.
Yeah, we'll let you know, buddy. Just have mom, dad, grandma keep an eye on the Facebook page for when we put up the new Steam Day for 3D printing. Next month, we're going to be doing streaming. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So it should have had everything when it comes in, but the problem is when it comes in, do you see the two that are on my screen right now? Some of the
Yeah.
like, colors and the options. So when you import it, it's not going to allow you to ungroup it and make any changes to it.
Right, but
because-
what I'm saying is that like she can't, like she can't find anything except part of her design. The rest of the design vanished when she tried to ungroup it, and she can't get back the original Tinkercad file.
Show my grant.
Do you know? Are you understanding what I mean?
Yeah, so if you import it, you won't be able to ungroup it and make any changes to it.
Which is fine, but like when she's trying to open it back up on Tinkercad, the original design, it's not there anymore. Only what's left is the most recent save. Can she access an older save?
Are you under the one that I gave you, or did you create one for the library?
I created one for the library.
When you go in, but you do see hers is here, or it's not even here showing up when you hit designs.
When we hit designs, her most recent one is there, but that's the one that only has part of her design. She's missing, she basically was building a character with a staff and a lantern, and the character and the staff are missing, and all that's left is the lantern.
Okay. Just in the preview picture, or when you actually open the file?
When she opens the file.
Okay. You can hit recycle bin and see if it's by chance in there.
Is okay, I see that. It says no 3D designs in the recycle bin.
I think it might print my ball as, I mean, or as a different shape.
Did you want to ungroup it?
If it's not showing up, once it's like closed, there's no way to like undo and get them back.
Okay, that's yeah. All right. I mean,
Sorry.
she's okay with it, but you know, we were just hoping.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you, though.
All right, so it's 12:30 right now. Looks like everyone's still working through creating their design character. So I might cut you guys loose and let Ryan go for the day. But if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to me or Ryan on email. But did everyone get the STL file thing sorted out? Yep. Okay, I'm getting thumbs up. Okay, so yeah, so we're done here. Yeah. So we're gonna probably end the Zoom here. But you guys obviously are free to keep designing and creating your Dungeons and Dragons characters as you see fit. But yeah, Ryan, do you have anything else for them?
No, I will, before we go, I'm gonna drop the code one more time in the chat in case anybody who used the class I created today, rather than the library one, I will drop that in the chat one more time before everybody leaves, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give it another minute or two for people to copy and paste that as well.
Perfect. All right, so that is the class code. If anybody wants that or needs that, if you use that today instead of creating one for the library, that one, I will just leave that open for anybody that wants to go back in. Keep that account active. And then the username is just student, all lowercase. Thank you, you too.
So do you have any idea when you're gonna teach us how to do these 3D prints for our kids, Ryan? Or I guess Josh and Micah?
Yeah, whenever we get the printers out to you guys,
They'll be shipped directly out to you.
yeah, they'll be shipped directly out to you guys next month.
Okay.
And then I'll sit down. We can either do a live Zoom on like a Wednesday or a Friday or something. And I'll make sure it's a YouTube video, and then you guys can go through individually and start printing.
The brand is called Prusa. It's a Prusa printer.
Yeah.
It's about $800. I mean, they're one of the top of the line printing companies, and apparently it's like literally you pull out of the box and just plug it in and go. It's
Ooh,
not
okay.
to build it or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like the
Yeah.
hard part we always had was the
the
table isn't aligned properly. But in this case, this thing automatically aligns the heat table for you every time you turn it on. So like this one's the most problemless one we could find, if that makes any sense. So thank you for coming.
Yeah. So I'll walk
Sounds good.
through with everybody how to set it up and make sure it's all synced up and ready to go. With the computers that we had you guys build. And then I'll start printing a mini with you guys, just so we all know how to at least start printing with the STL files. And then from there, it's you guys can print and go through and do everything at your guys' own pace, instead of having like one Saturday where like we're just printing nothing but minis. You guys can just print however many you guys want at your own speed. But yeah, other than that, you guys have a good day.